Alright tubes, what is going on? We're coming back to you with another video today. Another day, another dollar. And today we're going to be working on the 06. We have yet another repair project because both my trucks are just at that point where stuff that maybe even has replaced the first time is just starting to fail again because it's got 235,000 miles on it. So that's just the way it is. So let's get right to it. So the project for today is going to be the replacement of a lower ball joint, and I'm going to be doing the passenger side, but the driver's side is really identical. It's just on the other side of the car, so this will apply to no matter what side of the vehicle you have to do. First thing we're going to need to do here while the truck is still on the ground is loosen up our axle nut. That's this nut right here. It's about a 32 millimeter on my truck, and it depends on your wheel setup. Some have a little cover that pops out. I had some center caps, so I actually had to take the wheels off first, pop the cap out, and then put the wheel back on. But the way we got it set up here is we got the truck actually sitting on the ground, so that way the wheel doesn't try to spin when we loosen this nut. Once we have that nut loose, we can take that off. Next we're going to want to jack the truck up and get it supported with something. And the way I've decided to go about doing that is to support the truck under the control arm. That way the weight of the truck brings the control arm angle to as level as is possible given my current torsion bar settings. And that should minimize the preload on the steering knuckle in the ball joint. So that way when we take this thing apart, it'll be as easy as possible. Now in order to get this ball joint out, we're going to need to get this whole steering knuckle out of the way. And in order to do that, we're going to need to free it up a little bit. And the first thing that's going to kind of hinder us is this brake line here and the whole caliper assembly. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this caliper bracket. There's just two bolts on the back, one right here and then one on the bottom, which I'll give you a close up. And what that'll do is that'll allow us to take the caliper itself as well as the caliper bracket off in one piece. Once you get those bolts loose, you should be able to remove your whole caliper and caliper bracket assembly from the rotor. Now at this point in time, assuming that your caliper slides are working properly, you can actually remove the bracket from the caliper itself. So we'll get this out of the way. Now it's very important that we don't put too much stress on this brake line here, especially if they get old in age. They become very delicate, and if you just hang the caliper by that line, or allow it to be kinked too much, you could develop problems. And they're just avoided if you either find a place that you can just set the caliper on, or what I usually like to do is take some kind of wire and just tie it to the upper control arm and leave it hang there. There's nothing holding the rotor on at this point either, so we can get that out of our way. Now that just gets us to a point where when we're ready to slide this whole knuckle out of the way, we're not impeded by extra weight and extra brake lines and other things that are all hooked up to it in our way. Next thing we're going to want to do is we want to remove this castle nut that keeps the whole steering knuckle attached to the lower ball joint. Now the way we're going to do this is we want to pull out the retaining clip that keeps it from coming loose, and that's just a matter of using a pair of needle nose pliers to straighten out the cotter pin and then pull that out. And then once we get that cotter pin out of the way, it's just a matter of using a 24 millimeter socket and a little bit of strength to get the thing loose. Once you get that nut off, now we got to try and separate the steering knuckle from the ball joint. And this is the type of thing, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard, and you just never know. But there's a couple different ways of doing it. The first thing you can always try is just tapping the stud a little bit with a hammer, because in this case with the lower ball joint you do have gravity on your side. So if it is kind of loose, sometimes you get lucky and it'll just drop down on you if you tap the stud a little bit. But if that doesn't work, sometimes you have to use a ball joint separator. Now this is a ball joint separator. I think sometimes they call them ball joint forks, or there's various other names for them. But basically what it is just a tapered little fork looking object. And what this thing does is it gets inserted between the ball joint and the steering knuckle, or whatever it is that you're trying to get apart. And then ideally you hit on it a couple times with a hammer and the taper forces apart the two pieces you're trying to separate. One thing I found that sometimes works is you can get that ball joint fork driven in there a little bit to get some pressure on it, and then you can try hitting the stud from the bottom some more to break it loose. Just like that. We're also going to want to remove the upper ball joint from the steering knuckle. And the reason for this is pretty simple. It's the same reason we took these other things off. Leaving the two connected is just going to make motion of the whole steering knuckle assembly too impeded, and it'll make it very difficult perhaps to even separate the knuckle from the lower ball joint, and it'll also just make it a lot harder to get our ball joint press in there when we finally do get to that point in the job. So getting these apart should be relatively easy. First we'll loosen up this keeper nut. Then we can remove this bolt Now sometimes this bolt can be tricky to remove. I did this ball joint not too long ago, so since I had it apart recently, it actually came right out, but sometimes it requires a little bit of tapping. You just want to make sure, as I mentioned before, that you try and support the vehicle out under the control arm, so that way your control arms are at as unsteep of an angle as possible, because the steeper the angle is here, the more preload you put on this connection here, and the harder it is to get that bolt out, and the harder it'll be to actually separate the two. Now before you do that, if you actually took the bottom nut off like I did beforehand, I'd say it's probably a good idea to put that back on for now. The reason being is that we don't want the whole thing falling all over the place when we take this upper control arm out. We want to at least maintain some degree of control here. Now to get these two apart, we're just going to use a pry bar here. What we'll do is we'll stick the pry bar under the control arm and get it up against the frame in here, and then we should be able to just lift up. And I'm going to grab the knuckle because otherwise it might flop out of the way. But that comes out, and now this thing can kind of just swing, and we'll let it sit over to the side here for now. Just watch out because there is this ABS sensor wire in the way, and if you're not careful you could end up pulling on that, so it might be a good idea to undo a couple of these clips here to give yourself a little extra slack. Now at this point there really ought not be much else holding this steering knuckle on here, so I think we can go ahead and loosen our nut up underneath the rest of the way. Pop our axle out the rest of the way, and what we can do with that is just hang it on top of the sway bar here, and that'll keep that out of our way. Now the only thing really attaching our steering knuckle now is this wire, which I gave a little extra slack to as I recommended earlier, and the steering rod here is just kind of hanging up, holding it in its place here, and I sort of have it braced against this support down here, so that should be good where that's at. And now we have plenty of access to get this thing out of here. So first things first, I'll go ahead and I'll spray it down with a little bit of our Air oil here, my favorite penetrating oil. So we'll spray that down pretty good because this has probably never been changed, so it's probably going to take a bit to get this out of here. Now other than the fact that it's pressed into the lower control arm, the other thing that holds this ball joint from going anywhere is a snap ring. So what we'll do is we'll use a set of snap ring pliers to try and get this thing off of here, and fortunately it seems like this one isn't too frozen on there. Sometimes you gotta twist a little bit because one spot of it'll be frozen. Other times it helps to try and spin the whole snap ring. There we go. Watch your eyes. Alright, so at this point in time, we're ready to get this ball joint out of here. Nothing else is in our way. We've got our snap ring off. Now they're pressed in, so they do require a bit of force to get them out, and there's pretty much two ways of delivering that force. Number one is you can use a ball joint press, which I am going to use to put the new one in. But as far as getting them out, the method I've always used is just hitting them with a sledgehammer. You do have to be careful. There is the potential of damaging your control arm here, but I've always done it this way and I've never had a problem, so that's how I'm going to do it this time. Alright, so there we have it. Here's our ball joint, which came out relatively easily. I didn't really have to beat on it that hard. Sometimes you do have a lot of trouble and you need to apply heat with a torch to the control arm if they're really stuck in there, but other than that, they usually come out pretty easily. And the only other piece of advice that I have for that is make sure you wear safety glasses, because you never know when you're beating on something like that what might happen. Now before we install the new ball joint, there's two things that we're going to want to do. First thing we want to do is we want to make sure this surface is clean in here. It's probably a good idea to clean it out with a rag, make sure there's no grease or anything in there, and any kind of surface rust or anything like that, we want to get out of there. And it's not necessary, we're not trying to sand it, we don't want to ream it out and make it bigger, because it's supposed to be a press fit, but we do want to make sure that there's not all kinds of dirt in there before we press the new one in. The other thing that we want to do is we want to inspect really the whole control arm, but particularly this area for any cracks. We really want to make sure that there's no cracks around here, because if there are, we're not going to get a tight fit with the ball joint, and there's a chance that it could actually fall out, and the results of that could be fatal. So once that's all taken care of, you're ready for your ball joint press. Now this here is one that I rented from a local auto parts store, and most auto parts stores have that option where you can just go and spend the money for the part. Basically you put down a deposit of whatever the actual cost of the tool is, and then when you bring it back, they give you your money back. So I mean, it's a great deal, but if you do this type of work a lot, it is probably worth buying one. I've rented these so many times, I don't know why I don't own one, but you can buy them. I'll put some links in the description for that. But as you can see, they've got a variety of different attachments for doing different jobs, and basically what we need to do is we're going to need to use this piece. This is the actual part of the operation right here. So we'll need that. We're going to use this screw type thing. We need that. And then we got to find one of these rings which will fit just around the rim of the ball joint. We don't want one that's too small because it could end up damaging this rubber. And we don't want one that's too large either because it could end up slipping off. But this one looks perfect. It's almost the exact same outside diameter. So that's going to be perfect. We're also going to use this piece here and this cap over here, which we'll show you how it works in a minute. First, we're going to take our threaded rod here and we're going to get that started in the threaded end of the C-clamp. So we'll get that started like that, and that can sit like that for now. Then what will happen is you can see this piece here has various ridges, and one of these ridges should line up with one of these collars here. So we can see that that fits on just like that, and what's going to happen is this will sit in the bottom of the press like that. Now the last piece of the puzzle is this cap here. Now this cap is wider than the hole that the ball joint is getting inserted to. So what we can do is we could just take this and just set it on top like that. Now to make it a little easier for demonstration's sake, I've actually got the ball joint just started a little bit. I didn't actually use the press. I was able to use my hand to just get it started. But otherwise you have to kind of figgle and jiggle with this a little bit more than what I'm going to do here. But all we're going to do here is we're going to take this little piece, we're going to take the collar, we're going to slide them together, and then that can go onto our ball joint just like that. Then we can take our C-clamp and that'll come underneath just like this, and we can start to tighten it down. And once you got that all hooked up, you want to make sure that your ball joint's centered. I've already got it hooked up here, and so I've got it started to make sure of that. But make sure that everything's centered here. We don't want to press anything in on an angle. And assuming that everything looks good, we're going to start tightening this down. And what should be happening now is the ball joint should be getting pressed in. Now what we can do is we can loosen it up a little bit. Pull this apart and just check to make sure that everything's going in straight. And assuming that you don't encounter a whole lot of resistance, that's usually a good sign that it is going the way it's supposed to. And so it looks like we're just going to keep going here until we run into the control arm, and then we can stop. Alright, so now we've got our ball joint in all the way, and I will just mention, because I'm sure someone's going to notice, this is a different ball joint than the one I had a minute ago, and the reason for that is I realized I had another one that actually had a grease fitting in it, so I decided I wanted to install that one instead. What we can go ahead and do now is the new one does come with a new snap ring. It's always a good idea to replace something like that because they get under stress and they rust and can crack and various other things that can make them get worn out. So it's a good idea to always replace your snap ring, and pretty much any ball joint I've ever replaced, it always came with one. So we can put that in and make sure that it fits into the groove, which it did. And then in this case we do have a ball joint which has a grease fitting, so we can go ahead and install that now. Now basically the deal with these is you just want to install them to a point where the grease fitting is going to be accessible once everything's back together. So obviously having that point straight out would probably not be a good idea because the wheel and the rotor and the steering knuckle and everything would be in the way. But what I usually do is I usually have them face to the side, because then you can usually get in with if it's a grease gun that has a flexible hose, you can usually get in from the side and access it pretty well with an angle roughly close to that. But you can do whatever you want. That's just what I always do. Alright, so that completes the actual installation of the ball joint, and so at this point it's really just a matter of reassembling everything, and that's really just going to be the exact opposite of the disassembly process. One thing I am going to use while I'm putting all this back together is some of this anti-seize, and this stuff is really good. I use this a lot. Basically what it is it's a compound that you apply to the metal where you're about to put two pieces apart, and the idea of it is that it prevents them from getting corroded and rusted and galled and in other ways fused together. And so it can be really helpful for things like this in the future if you ever got to take them apart again. So for example, I just put a little bit in here where the lower ball joint goes into the knuckle, and I'll probably put some on the upper ball joint as well. And just any of these areas that, you know, in the future I can anticipate them probably being difficult to get apart, I'll probably use a little bit of that stuff. But you do have to be careful. There's some places you aren't supposed to use it. Certain bolts that you don't want coming out, you don't want to use that stuff. You're actually supposed to use thread locker instead of anti-seize. So you can't use that stuff anywhere, but if you use it in the right place, it can really help you in the future. So for the first step of our reassembly process, what I've done is I've got the steering knuckle. I've just got it started on the ball joint. I've got the nut on there, just a couple threads just to hold it on there. And so now it's kind of just floating in there. And what we should be able to do now is we should be able to get our axle started now. There's enough flex to it that we should be able to get it through. Just get it started, just like that. Once that's done, we should be able to take our upper ball joint and reinsert that into our steering knuckle. So now we got our upper ball joint in there as well as the lower ball joint and the axle. This whole thing should start to have some rigidity to it now. So at this point, I'm going to start tightening up this bottom bolt, the ball joint bolt on the lower ball joint. We'll tighten that up and we'll just get it snug for now. And then we can use our torque wrench to get it to the correct torque specification. Now in my case, it's about 90 foot-pounds. But it may not be the same for your truck, so I would recommend that you check. If you have a different year Ranger or maybe an Explorer or something, it could be a different number. So I would recommend it, but that's the 90 foot-pounds that we're supposed to be at here. Now once you get it to the correct torque spec, then you got to reinstall the cotter pin. It's a good idea to replace these, and most of the time if you get a ball joint, it does come with a new one. But the important thing to remember is that when you reinstall it, you have to make sure, obviously, that this nut is lined up with the hole where the cotter pin goes. Now in my case, I actually got really lucky, and it's actually going to fit without any extra effort. But in the event that it's not quite lined up, you don't want to loosen that nut in order to get it lined up. You always want to tighten it. So that's why it's a good idea if you look up your torque spec and you have a range, don't go to the highest one, go a little bit below that. That way if you end up having to tighten it a little more, you don't overexceed your torque spec. But like I say, in my case I got lucky, so all I got to do is just get some pliers and bend that out of the way so it's not going to come out. All set. Now we can turn our attention back to the upper ball joint here, and I think it's actually lined up that, yeah, I can actually stick this keeper bolt right through. Sometimes if it's not quite lined up, you got to pull on it and jiggle things around a little bit because it might not just be quite lined up with the slot that bolt's got to go through. But that looks good. We can put our nut on here and we'll tighten that up. I believe the torque spec on that is about 48 foot-pounds, but again, every truck's going to be different, so I recommend you take a look at your service manual and figure out exactly what each bolt should be. Now we can reinstall our rotor, our brake caliper, brake pads, and brake caliper bracket. That can all go back together. And once we get that done, it's finally starting to look like a front end again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jack the truck up and I'm going to put the wheel back on without the center cap. And what that'll allow us to do is we can set the truck back down on the ground, and that'll prevent the wheel from spinning while we tighten up this axle nut. Alright, there's 184 foot-pounds on our axle nut, and all we got to do now is take the wheel back off, put our center cap in, and make sure our lugs are tight, and that is it. Alright, now got our center cap reinstalled, our lugs all tight, and we are officially at the job complete portion of this video. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if there's anything that didn't make sense or you guys aren't quite sure about, leave it down in the comments and I'll try and help you guys out. Give me a thumbs up if you found this video helpful, and please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Thanks guys, see you soon.